Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I am Ms. Farawasik and I am here to give you orientation session about O-levels chemistry. I am associated with Arm Public School for International Studies (COD), and this is the orientation session for specifically class O1 students, those who are new to this field. So let's dive in to the deep world of chemistry. So first of all, students, you must know that why you should choose O levels chemistry, and the course code is 5070. My dear students, chemistry is all about the concepts and transferable skills the student may have to handle the data. The student must have the capability to solve the practical problems and apply those practical problems to solve the scientific method. Over here in Cambridge, learners develop relevant attitudes such as concerns for accuracy and precision while they will be doing the practical examples. They will be having an objectivity in their mind. Their integrity, inquiry, and initiative approaches are going to become polished by the passage of time. The learners also acquire the essential scientific skills required for the progression to further studies or employment. So, first of all, what is the assessment overview? My dear students, there are three components of Cambridge chemistry syllabus. The first paper will be comprised about multiple choice questions and they will be 40 in number. So overall you will be having 40 multiple choice questions. There will be four choices for each question and you have to choose only one, and then you have to write down the answer on a separate bubble sheet provided. The total time duration for the paper 1 will be 60 minutes, that is 1 hour, and the total marks for this paper will be 40. That means you have 1 mark for each correct answer, and there is again no negative marking. This is the most important paper in Cambridge O-levels chemistry because over here you will gain or lose all of the marks. So if your concepts are correct, if your information is correct, if your basic knowledge is correct, then definitely you are going to score well in it. Then the next component is paper 2, that is theory, and it is comprised of 80 marks and there will be 1 hour and 45 minutes time allowed. From 2023 and onwards, the time of chemistry paper 2 is changed. It is bit increased to 15 minutes. Initially, in the previous years, it was of 1 hour and 30 minutes, that is equal to 90 minutes. But now they have just increased 5 marks. Previously, it was of 75 marks, and now the paper comprises of 80 mark structured question answers and there is no choice. So students, again listen to me. There is 80 mark question paper. You have to attempt each and every question. There is no choice. All the question will be structured and you have to write down precisely without losing your time because the time is also short. 1 hour and 45 minutes are there for 80 mark structured question paper. Then there is another paper in science subjects, that is paper 3 or paper 4, that is alternative to practical or a practical test. But in Pakistan, my dear students, we are not going to opt for the practical exams. Only we are going to appear for the practical exams in A levels, but not in O levels. So what do? We opt for the other option, that is alternative to practical. This is the same, you would say, examination criteria, only you will not perform the practical, but you have to answer all the like quiz and short question answers related to the experimental skills and experimentation. The paper 4 will comprise of 40 marks and again there will be no choice. So now, what is the content overview? What is the syllabus for chemistry 5070? So the syllabus is comprised of 12 chapters, you would say 12 major topics, and you are allowed to study these 12 topics from whatsoever book you like. There are different indoors books and reference books, but you can study it from anywhere, but you should always have to have in these boundaries. So there are 12 major topics. Number 1 is states of matter. Then we are having elements, compounds and atoms. Then third chapter is stoichiometry, in which we are having numerical problems. Then electrochemistry about current and electricity. Then chemical energetics is all about heat changes, energy changes. Then we are having different type of chemical reactions. There are different interesting equations, balancing and so on. Then comes to the next chapter, that is acid, bases and salts, and it's a very vast chapter in which we are going to study about acids, about bases in chemistry, and about the product, that is salt, and its formation and its reactions as well. Then we are having periodic table. You all know about it. It's the base for chemistry. Then we are having metals, chemistry of environment. It's essential nowadays. Global warming is all there, so we are going to study in detail about chemistry of environment, global warming, greenhouse effect, etc. Then last is organic chemistry, and then experimental techniques and chemical analysis is the major part of chemistry course, so we cannot run away from here, and it is very interesting, I must say. When you will be studying with me, inshallah, you will enjoy the time. Now, these syllabus content is based upon some of the assessment objectives. What are the assessment criteria? What are the assessment objectives that are present in the examiner's mind? Many of you are unaware of this assessment objectives, because we are living in Pakistan and we are following the traditional examination pattern. But over here in O levels chemistry or in other O levels exam, the assessment criteria is a bit different. So first of all, there are 3 assessment objectives. The first assessment objective is assessment objective 1, that is knowledge with understanding. This assessment objective 1, that is knowledge with understanding, will you would say assess the knowledge part of your learning journey. Like, you have to answer about scientific phenomenon, like definitions could be asked. They are rarely asked, however, but they can ask you by twisting the questions. Facts, laws, definitions, concepts and theories could be asked, but again they will not ask you directly. They will ask you always in indirect manner. Then they can ask you scientific vocabulary, labeling would come, terminologies and conventions including symbols, quantities and units could be asked. Then they can ask you about instruments and apparatus, including techniques of operation, aspects of safety. For example, they can ask you about technique that is called filtration, or the technique that is called chromatography or titration, or any other techniques could be asked, and the knowledge part of those techniques could be asked in this assessment objective 1. They can also ask you about the different social, economic and environmental changes and problems associated with, for example, disposal of plastics, incineration, burning, etc., etc. So, assessment objective 1, that is knowledge with understanding, comprises of the definition, listing part of your syllabus. Then, assessment objective 2 is handling information and problem solving. This is the most important aspect of your exam, because this is rich. Your paper will be rich in these type of questions. That is, you are going to have the questions like this. For example, locate, select. The command words will be like that. Translate, manipulate numerical data, use information to identify the correct structures. You have to relate the quantities present, reasoned answers, like you have to write on the reasoning questions, reasoning answers. Then you can make predictions about different scientific facts if a table will be given to you, and so on. So this is again handling information by they will give you a structured question. They will give you information, and then you have to handle it, handle the information and then come to the correct answer. So these assessment objectives 1 and 2 are the part of paper 1 and paper 2, that is MCQs and the theory. I hope it is clear. Then assessment objective 3 comprises of experimental skills and investigations, that is the ATB part, and it will be comprising of all the experimental knowledge that you have gained within the 3-year study or 2-year study, and after that they will ask you about the relevant like information about any experiment. For example, you have extracted a floral extract, and then you have to interpret how many dyes are there in that floral extract. So they can ask you to demonstrate the knowledge, they can ask you to plan experiments and investigations, that's a compulsory part of 6 marks. Then they can make and ask you to make and record observations of titrations or any melting and boiling point. They can ask you to measure and estimate a correct value. They can ask you to interpret and evaluate a wrong result of a particular experimental data, and they can ask you to evaluate methods and suggest the possible improvements. So this is the part for AO3, that is assessment objective 3, and this will be comprising, or this will be added in the paper 4 only, that is the ATP, and paper 3, that is practicals. Now all of these 3 objectives will be comprising 100% of the total weightage, that is 50% is knowledge and understanding, 30% will be the data handling, problem solving strategies, and 20% will be related to the experimental skills and investigations. I hope it's clear. Now I'm going to just show you the subject content, how the subject content is added in the syllabus in the form of SLOs. SLOs are the subject learning outcomes, or sometimes it is written as students learning outcome. So you have to learn any topic, for example states of matter, by going with the subject learning outcomes of the given chapter. So you have to have, for example, state the arrangement, distinguishing properties of solid, liquid and gases. So you have to like go through words in deep in this topic, and you have to like study the distinguishing characteristics of solid, liquid and gases, and they could be asked in any way in the exam. So these are the subject content points that are added in the syllabus. I'm just going to show you some of them. And then in the last I am going to show you the subject content for the practical test and ATP. In the previous years, the practical test and ATP syllabus was not found in the syllabus provided by Cambridge, but from now 2023 they have added the list of like topics that can come in the ATP and the practical test. So the topics could be volume of gases, masses, temperature, times, length, measurement of these things. Then they can ask you about rate of reaction, they can ask the techniques of salt preparation, they can ask separation and purification techniques including filtration, crystallization, simple distillation, fractional distillation, chromatography. Then they can give you questions related to electrolysis, identification of metal ions, non-metallic ions and gases. Then they can ask you questions to test about water. Then they can ask you test tube reactions of dilute acids and bases, tests for oxidizing and reducing agents. You have to all have to memorize these tests. Then heating and cooling curves, titration, solubility, melting point, and so on. But good thing is that students, in the end of the syllabus, they have added a manual. From 2023 and onwards, now the students are allowed to see the manual while solving the ATP, because now you don't have to learn the qualitative analysis test for in order to identify any gas or particular metal ion or non-metallic ion. So they are going to provide you with a manual only in the paper 4, that is the ATP, or paper 3. So now you don't have to ratify each and everything. You don't have to learn it by your heart, but you will be given the manual, and you have to interpret the data and get the correct results. Then some of the syllabus has been changed. So the topics that are changed in the syllabus, or they're removed from the syllabus, are fraction distillation of air, recycling of metal is removed, ozone layer is no more here, carbon cycle is removed, desalination is removed, carbohydrates and fats from the last chapter of macromolecules is removed now, and polymer hydrolysis also removed. And some of the very small content has been added, that is the flame tests are now added. Again, the colors will be there in ATP paper, but you have to remember the colors for the theory and P1. Then cooling curves are now added, plastics are added in more detail, and you have to remember what are the like biodegradable plastics, what are the consequences of landfill sites if they are having accumulated with so much non-degradable plastics, and so on. And indicator is added, that is not known as thiamolphthalene and phenolphthalein. Previously there was phenolphthalein, it is now removed, and thiamolphthalene is now added as a new indicator. So now coming to the last thing, that is reference books of chemistry. Students are confused what to use and what should not be used. So I am going to give you a brief list of reference books that I use and particularly recommend. So initially it was Prescott. This is a green book. Initially it was used by different schools. It is an easy book for the students' point of view, but it does not contain any past paper questions. So now it is an old book. I will not recommend it to you. The new book will be, that is the best book, is Chemistry Matters up till now, and the version 2 or the edition 2 of this book is having an excellent resources of past paper questions. Then comes to the latest book of Hodder's Education, that is by author Brian Earl, and it is again a comprehensive book, contains all the newly added topics including the flame test and the indicator, that is thiamolphthalene. So you can also refer to this book. And then another book is also a very good book, that is Chemistry, Complete Chemistry, and its latest edition is also very good, and it comprises of all the past paper example and the questions that will help you a lot while studying the course, that is Chemistry 5070. So I hope it's clear. Thank you so much, and hope you enjoy studying O Syllabus Chemistry 5070. Bye from here. Allah Hafiz.